I was going to ask, like, if you're someone who, has a hard time trusting your intuition, how can you get better at that?
For the most part, it takes determining that I know I'm spirit, and I'm going to trust how the spirit works no matter what. And so
I would like that.
Anything that I receive intuitive wise, unless I feel it as that it does not have the joy and love type of vibration behind it, and if it then it's trustable, and you go with it no matter what, because we're spirit and we're made of the great spirit, and that's how it works.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Intuitive Pathway podcast. My name is Brooke. My sister Julia is with us, and today we have a special guest, Carla Adams. She's joining us for episode 5 today. So Carla Adams, she's a sound therapist that specializes in ancestral clearing. She's also from Northeast Kansas. So, hello, Carla.
Hi, Julia and Brooke. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Thank you for coming on.
You're welcome. I'm happy to do so. It's always fun to have a positive, enlightening conversation to just encourage our spirits.
Well, we hope that it is a good conversation. We hope it's enlightening, huh, Julia?
Yeah.
So do you want to tell everybody a little bit about what you do? Because, sound therapist and ancestral clearing, people
They're kind of vague.
Yes, there's going to be some questions. So.
Okay. Well, I use tuning forks within the human biofield to clear stuck energy caused from emotions or spiritual issues or physical elements where the energy gets stuck in your body. And the tuning forks act as biofeedback to the body. Our biofield, the light waves that surround our bodies, sometimes called an aura, extends 5 to 6 feet away from our bodies, that far around on every side, and 2 to 3 foot above and below. And it's the light waves coming into us from the universe and going out from us to the universe. And the biofield contains a record of our lives. The outer membrane at that 5 or 6 foot mark is conception, gestation, and birth. Central channel is now. Right side of the body is current day. And so the light waves from the tuning forks act as biofeedback to the body. The sound waves intersect with the light waves, and when it intersects at a place where there's a pocket of stuck emotion, then it makes a different sound than it does. Like if you just strike it, it might be pitched crazy, it might be shrilly, it might be moany. It might just feel real different, congested, tension in my body. Anyway, so I feel it, and the tuning forks, you just stay in the pocket and keep striking the tuning fork as it's needed, and the body hears the tone that's not its normal coherent quality, and it thinks, well, something's not right. And So it sends out its feelers through your body and finds the stuck pocket, and it releases those. And then the tuning fork pulls that energy into your central channel and dumps it there, so that you can use it again. Because when it gets, what we're finding is energy that is stuck there. So like if something happened to you when you were 3 years old, that pocket's out there. And when the tuning forks find it, you know, that piece of, those pieces of light particles that have become stuck there aren't doing anybody any good. In fact, they're harmful to you in ways because they block your normal flow. And so the tuning forks then the magnetism, and it pulls it into your body, and we drop it by intention into your energy channel, and you can reuse that energy, put it in flow again.
That's a lot of stuff.
That's a lot of stuff.
How did you learn how to do this?
I took a class. I had come to a point in my life that I was at what my husband and it was kind of our dream come true, what we were doing at the time. And after we'd been there several months, it was like, it just wasn't working for me. I was terribly disappointed because I'd wanted to do this for 40, 50 years. And it's like, no, it just wasn't working. And I fought it, but I got to the point where I couldn't push myself anymore. I couldn't do it. And so we moved to where we are now. And I knew that probably for the first time in my life, I needed really to work on me instead of taking care of my family. And I needed to find out why I'd had so much sadness and fear all my life.
Yeah.
And so I was looking for a new career, basically, something that would heal me. Whether I made any money on it or not, or helped anyone else, it didn't matter. I had to heal me. And I happened to listen to a podcast about biofield tuning. And Eileen McCusick was talking about it. And I knew right away that's what I had to do. And so it was a few months before the next class was available. And so I took that, and that's when it started. I'm not a certified biofield tuner. I've just added it to my repertoire of what I knew before.
So what role does intuition play in doing this work?
I was going to say something like that, because the entire time you were talking, it all came down to listening to yourself and your intuition. First, you got out of something that you thought was going to be good for you, and you found out you were sad still. And, you listened to your intuition and knew that you wanted to do this. So.
Yeah. And at the time, I didn't really see it as lovingly listening to myself. It was like, I'm desperate. I was really totally desperate.
Yeah, I think that's a common.
It all comes from desperation.
Yeah.
It was, for me, it was desperation. Absolutely. Intuition is the most important factor. The big part about intuition that I find is to connect to your intuition, you have to be focused only on the present moment. You can't be worried about what's going to happen 5 minutes from now, or 2 hours from now, or 2 weeks from now. You can't be thinking, I can't be dwelling on all those mistakes I just spoke earlier, right?
Yeah.
And explaining things. You have to be focused right here. The other important part to know is that, like I said, the light waves in the world are made of tiny charged particles of light. In between every particle is space, right? Or you just have one big glob, right? So there's lots of particles, so there's lots of space. The space between all the particles isn't air, it's spirit. And so when you work in intuition, when you work in the biofield, other energy modalities as well, you're working in spirit. And when you know that everything in the world is made of spirit, that means I'm made of spirit, you're made of spirit. It's just that our energy is compressed enough, we see it as a physical body. So I'm spirit, I'm working in spirit. I asked the Great Spirit, God, I call it Aloha, that creator spirit in the universe. And I asked, what wants to happen? What do I need to know here? How can I help this person? Show me what to do next. And I'm always shown what to do next.
Mm-hmm.
The words that come to my mind, I always speak because I count that as intuition. And I speak them, and almost always they pertain directly to what the client was thinking about or feeling or had experienced in their lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember when I worked with you and we just kind of talked beforehand, and I didn't really know what it was exactly that I wanted to search for or look for, I think the second time. And then we just started talking about the pursuit of truth, and it somehow flowed into the conversation. And then that's what you ended up trying to help me with. And it was interesting you landed on that, because that's exactly what I've been trying to do as of recently: speak truth, search for truth. And you intuitively picked up on that and knew it and helped me in that next session.
Yeah, and I can't say, it wasn't in my mind, but most of the people that come to me, because they know that I work with ancestral clearing, they're into deeper stuff than wanting to heal their knee that hurts, or a sore elbow or things. I help that too, but people want more, right? It's like real conversation. I'm a real person. I love deep conversation, and the spirit knows that I'm that kind of person, and it brings it to mind. It brings it in the conversation because we're both there for that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so when you were talking about ancestral clearing, can you explain that a little more? Like, what do you mean by ancestors, and how do they get stuck in our biofield or whatever it is?
Yeah. Ancestral clearing has become a somewhat more hot topic lately. I think different people, by using that term, mean different things. Most of the time, from what I gather, what I understand is people are changing long-time patterns of thought, patterns of behavior that some other ancestors, other parents or grandparents had in their lives. And that's like, addiction would be a real common one, but I mean, there's so much more, anger, sadness, fear, worry, all sorts of patterns that we learn, whether through it's in our DNA and we inherit it, or through patterns that we've learned from the important people around us in our lives as we grow. What I mean by ancestral clearing is that, but it's also much more, because when I started this work, very soon after I started this work, ancestors began appearing in my house. You might call them ghosts. you might call them, I don't know what you want to call them, but to me, they're not ghosts. It became obvious real quickly that it's just people without a body anymore. They had the same thought patterns as they did when they were alive. I know because some of them were my ancestors, and they were exactly the same as they were. And so they started coming to me because when we work in the biofield, like I said, the first biofield outside your body is 5 to 6 feet away from your body, and that's the record of your life. Beyond that, up to about 30 to 35 feet away from your body is a life record of all of your ancestors. And so sometimes it started more and more with me when I would start a session and the spirit, the intuition would tell me where to work. I would be starting way out in the second field. And so that's how it started, because that's their life record, and where that energy, emotional energy stuck in their lives, that's where the pockets are. And it contributes to yours, to your having the same pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And by clearing the ancestral field and yours at the same time, we help you, we help your ancestors, we help the universe, because they're able to then, if they're ready to, they're able to transition out of the waiting place that they seem to be in and into heaven, into the oneness, however you see that.
Mm-hmm.
So why do some get stuck and some don't seem to get stuck?
Ancestors?
Yes.
From what I've seen, most people over the past millennia are stuck there.
Oh.
There's very few.
Worrisome.
Yeah.
Well, it is. That's exactly. You're exactly right. We can talk about that in a different aspect later, but you're exactly right. It's worrisome. And so it wasn't meant to be that way. I'm a very spiritual person. I connect with the universal spirit, the great spirit, in meditation daily, in thought and talking throughout the day. In hypnosis has been a wonderful way for me to connect there as well, when you take the mind offline and can get closer to understanding. So that's what I find. And primarily they're stuck there because knowledge has been lost that we are spirit people, spirit beings, that we are made of the great spirit, of the universal spirit, that we are an integral part of the universe because we're spirit. And that's not been known. It's been forgotten. And so knowledge is power, right? And in this case, knowledge contributes to actually having power, electric power, voltage in your body, in your spirit. And so when their body dies, they stay in this low voltage state. This is what it appears to me. Other people might experience it differently, but to me, I see them in grayscale. There is no color. They're gray. I see them in the clothing that they would have worn at that time, at whatever time in their life. And they're stuck there until there's 5 things that I've found that they need before they transition. And the first most important one is they have to be ready. And so that is beside being knowledge has been lost. Because knowledge has been lost, people don't know who we really are, and therefore cannot, don't want what we really are, because they think we're in the physical realm, and they don't know we're so much a part of the universal spirit. And so they don't want it because they don't know that that's real. And so until they're in the afterlife, as long as it takes to find that knowledge that they need and become ready. And then they can take the other 4 steps or clear the other 4 things that they need in order to transition.
It's kind of random, but whenever you started seeing these ancestors, did it like scare you at first?
It did.
Yeah.
It did. Absolutely.
I was thinking about what I would do, you know.
Scream.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was sitting right here where I was. And my grandfather appeared right to my side. And he had been on my mind lately. You know, the past week or two, there was a couple days where for some reason had died 25 years before, right? And I knew him very well. We were close when I was growing up. And he came to me that one day and he said, "I need your help. I'm ready to go to the oneness." And it was like, what do I do, right? And actually, that was the first time I saw someone in grayscale, and in the waiting place, I call it. You know, are you familiar? You guys both have little kids. Are you familiar with the Dr. Seuss book, The Waiting Place? No. It's the places you'll go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's the name of the book. And toward about the 2/3 mark of the book, there's a double-page spread that's the waiting place for people just waiting for the phone to ring or waiting for whatever it is they're waiting. And when you're reading it aloud to your kids, you drag it out and out and out so they can understand what waiting is, right? Mm-hmm. The ancestors are in a waiting place.
Okay.
Question.
My experience.
Sorry. I was going to ask, is it the waiting place? Is it kind of like Catholic purgatory, or is it something, because Catholics have their version of like a in between?
Right. First of all, I'm not Catholic, and I do not know, having never studied Catholicism or purgatory, I do not know exactly what they think purgatory is. Mm-hmm. What I find the waiting place to be is aloneness. That I have found no evidence of a burning hell anywhere in the afterlife. They are waiting. They're by themselves. Sometimes more than one come at a time, but they come by themselves. It's, like I said, it's gray. I don't think there is anything in it. I mean, they're aware of the physical things, like they come in my door. They don't go through a wall. They come in the door.
It's interesting.
Right? Yes. Uh-huh. So, anyway, so I see the waiting place as a continuation of life, but different, because here we still have, as alive, we have so much around us that we can be interested in, right? And that we can put our attention on and enjoy. In the waiting place, it feels to me like, for the most part, they're stuck in the mode that they live most of their life in. So like if someone if someone dies and they've been a person that's been very fearful or flightish type, because of everything startles them, a person type like that, they're that way in the afterlife. My grandfather, on the other hand, he was a farmer. He was a very wise man. He studied a lot. He read a lot to learn. I asked him after he transitioned to the oneness, because I have more contact with them there and now. And so I asked him one time, well, what did he do when he found out he had died? How did he find out to come to me? How did he find out how the afterlife worked? And he says, I watched and learned. Whereas the other lady I talked about that was flightish and stuff, she came in to the house in a burst of flightishness, in a burst of fear. And I couldn't help her with what she was needing, because it's inner work they need. They have to find out that they're spirit. They have to find out that they're part of the universal spirit, and they have to decide when and if they're ready to return there.
How do they do the work if they're on the other side?
Oh, same way we do here, except they're not reading a paper or watching a video. They're surrounded in spirit. So say the spirit and intuition that are with me in the biofield when I work, they're surrounded in that, right? They're surrounded in their own spirit. When they're ready, they'll listen and they'll learn. And they see, obviously they know to come to me. So there's an awareness that takes place in the communication of the light waves.
So when you were, before you actually started doing this, did you just come to a place of like openness to this, to be able to, for them to come to you and stuff? Were you just open?
I don't know if I can ever be so open.
I know. I was like,
come to me and I would like, no.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Well, and it might have been slightly different if it wasn't my grandfather that came first, if it was someone you didn't know or whatever. But no, it started, like I said, I've always been a very spiritual person. I was a devoted Christian most of my life till about, I don't know, 10 years ago. And then from things that I'd learned that happened in the world, I began to doubt that those beliefs were accurate. And so I began to question them. But I've always had a deep desire for God, for that connection with spirit. And so anyway, I took the Biofield class, and then I'm doing this to heal myself, right? And so I'm taking a walk one day, and I'm thinking out loud, because I've been learning, beside learning about the Biofield, I wanted to learn about how our minds work, how our emotions work, why I ended up that way, right? How the formative mind, right? You hear about how children and how the minds work, that they soak in information and they pretty much accept most of it as truth because they don't have a large basis of things to compare it to and decide, nope, that's not for me, type of thing. Mm-hmm. And so that formative mind. And I was, with my Christian background and spiritual background, I was thinking as I was walking, and it dawned on me from the story in the Bible about the creation story and Adam and Eve. It dawned on me whether or not Adam and Eve are real people, or if they were real people and they just symbolized other people and not just themselves, it didn't matter, right? I'm just talking about if these were people and how it would work. Because according to the story, it was right after the creation of the world, and they were in this world, right? And there was the serpent had been talking to Eve, right, to try to get her to eat the apple, or whatever it was, to partake of something that the God had told him not to. So, and it dawned on me, they would have had the formative mindset, right? They had nothing in their experience on earth to compare anything to. And so she would have, with hearing lies over and over again, she would have come to believe them, or at least, very least, to doubt what she had heard before. Mm-hmm. Kind of like our emotional patterns work today. The more we're thinking, the more we're surrounded by people that are negative, the more negative we become. Then if you start making changes and surround yourself by happy people, then you start becoming happier and happier, right? So it was the same principle. She was hearing the lies over and over and over again, so her mind would have started believing the lies. And it dawned on me, she would have had the formative mindset, and it would not have been any more her fault in believing those lies than it was my fault for believing that I was unwanted and unloved when I was little. Mm-hmm. Right? That you don't know. That's how your mind works. And it broke my heart, right? It really touched me because it was so similar to what I knew. And so I said to the Spirit, I said, I don't know how this works. I don't know if Eve was a real person or not. But if Eve was a real person, I want her to know that I get it, that I understand it's not her fault. And so then I turned my attention to direct it directly to who this person Eve may have been. And I say the same thing, basically. Eve, I understand. It wasn't your fault. And a few seconds later, there was an angel by my side. And I knew she knew. And I had the feeling then that there was concern among the people that were in the oneness, the not just the angels, but our ancestors who had already been in the oneness, that there was concern. And so I did a biofield session, or I thought I would do a biofield session for them to find out what it was and if I could help. And so I said, well, I want to know, have their permission. I want to know if it's okay, if they think it's okay, right? And so I was out in my yard, in my garden, and it was like I just felt the need to close my eyes. And then it was like I was told to open my eyes a few seconds later and look. And I didn't see anything. I was just looking around at my garden like I would normally work. And there was something inside me that said, no, look deeper, look with spiritual eyes. And so I looked beyond what my eyes could see. And there was these orbs of light surrounding me in a circle all around, about 20 foot away from me. And there was this loud resounding, yes, 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 you have our permission, they were saying. And so that began my adventures with ancestors, basically. I started with ancestors in the oneness. I found there was the great concern was because their biofields were being dissolved, so to speak, by electromagnetic frequencies. And so I've began tuning them to try to strengthen the electric flow of the light waves, that voltage through them. And I feel I've made great progress. So it was just a few weeks after beginning to work with those ancestors in the oneness that my grandfather, who was in the grayscale, came. And so if it would have been the other way around, I might not have been willing, none of this may have happened. None of my experiences may have happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other factor that plays in a great deal beside intuition and beside starting with the oneness is I found after I'd started this work, I'd been doing it for 6 months maybe or something, and ancestors had started coming, and we were clearing them, and they then would leave. They were ready for the oneness afterwards, so they would leave my house, but I didn't know where they went. And then through a really intuitive play of several events, one right after the other, I found that I learned that energy lines called ley lines that run across the earth, when those intersect at a 90-degree angle, it forms a vortex where ancestors can transition into the other realm. And so I thought, well, if ancestors are coming here, maybe there's a vortex close, right? And so I took in Biofield work. We use a pendulum, a little acrylic pendulum. It's just my hand is doing the turning of the ball in imperceptible ways, but I'm listening to spirit, and it's just a way of showing me the information in a tangible way. And so I walked around the outside of my house to see asking to show me where the ley lines were. And there are two, and they intersect in the room that I work in.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Do you feel like your intuition kind of led you to your house even to do this work in like a crazy sort of way?
Well, it must have. There's no way it would have worked out if we weren't being guided. It would have had to start, like I said, when I was hit my bottom, we were had saved cash, paid cash for 5 acres and a homestead, and we're trying to live off grid, trying to learn how to live off grid and build a place to live. And it was a really, really hard work. And I was by myself all day because my husband, we had decided, that his skills in that place, we both have different sets of lots of skills, but his were probably more apt to be able to get a job in that closer area than my package of skills were. And so he had found a job, and he was working every day. So I was by myself on the mountaintop in the heat, working hard every day long. And all the money he was working went into building the homestead so we could survive the coming winter. Mm-hmm. And I have 2 grown sons. I raised them as a single mom, and I didn't have the money to go visit them. And they lived each day away, right? Mm-hmm. And that was the big part, beside the hard work, and I couldn't push myself to just overcome my yearnings for love, right, for my boys. I couldn't do it. And so I had decided, my husband had said, I can see it's not working for you. I'll move anywhere you think you'll be happy. So I had already decided, basically. My older son had been wanting us to move close to him. He lives about halfway between both of our aging mothers. It was a logical choice. Mm-hmm. My other son, we could visit on vacation, right? Because he lived in a city, and I didn't want to live in a city. I'm a small town person. Mm-hmm. And so, in fact, I'm more of a country person than a small town person. So anyway, but all of our money was tied up in our homestead. So until we moved and it sold, we couldn't have a place to move to. So my son found this place. So he does not he doesn't ever admit to being a spiritual person, and he doesn't really try. He says, show me and I'll believe it. Right.
Mhm.
But because I can't show him this spiritual stuff, he says, well, I'm glad it works for you, but it's not for me. I got to see it. And so with that type of attitude, intuition would still have to have played a part. And of course, price.
Yeah.
And we landed here in the exact place we needed to be.
Mhm.
Super cool.
So what if somebody wants to come see you, or what kind of things would somebody have to be going through to want to see you? Like, what would you help somebody work through?
Well, a lot of times there is nothing that a person might, it differs for different people, of course. A lot of times there is nothing in specific, except that perhaps a general wanting more in life, right? Wanting more out of life, wanting to know more truth and understand things. But because ancestral clearing is becoming, there's a growing awareness of how the ancestral baggage affects our baggage, then people are interested. And so some come with nothing, no heavy emotions or anything to clear. They want to see if their ancestors are ready to join the oneness. And of course, in finding that, we find the emotions that need to be cleared in their bodies. It's the emotional energy that becomes stuck. And then it grows and causes inflammation that causes our physical ailments. But what I find underlying the emotional energy that stucks, our emotional energies get stuck because we're not living in our spirit. We're not knowing we're spirit. We're not receiving all emotions as good. We're not trusting that everything that happens in our lives will benefit us in one way or another, and accepting that.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you end up with the heavy energy, a lot of anger, a lot of worry, patterns of fear, things like that. And so it varies with every client, what has concerned them in their lives. So a lot of times we start with those emotional patterns that they would want to clear. Sometimes they recognize it's a spiritual issue and they come to me for spiritual tuning, spiritual understanding in helping them to make sense of what's going on in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
I know for me, oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
I kind of always felt like, or not always, but as I got older, I kind of always felt like there was something on a particular side of my family that was just being passed down and passed down and passed down, and it got passed on to me, and I didn't want it. I didn't want it.
Yeah.
And so when I did that session with you, it really helped disconnect me from whatever it was. And it allowed for a lot of forgiveness.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And that was super important because through that forgiveness, it allowed me to move on with my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think those types of I don't know if it's traumas or whatever it is that get passed down. I don't know I don't know how it works exactly, but whatever you did, it kind of just allowed me to take a step back and see things objectively and to be able to forgive and move forward, because I felt just very, very stuck.
Yeah.
A lot of people come to you feeling just stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess I myself that's what I'd found. I was stuck in a place that wasn't working, right?
Right.
But I'm not a scientist, and I can't say that I totally understand everything, how it works scientifically either. But basically, that pocket of stuck energy occurs in the flow. And so your energy that then flows into your body, wherever it hits that stuck energy, it doesn't just stop there in its natural flow. It finds a way to go around, right? And so we develop these alternate patterns of energy flow, but we also develop alternate ways of speaking without telling our truth, right?
Yeah.
Of expressing anger without letting people know we're angry, supposedly, right? Things like that. And so when those pockets are removed, then the energy flows in again, and it starts to flow around, and then it says, oh, wait, I can go through again. And so it's like there's kind of this adjustment. I feel it in my body when I've had a clearing or when I receive sessions. And it's like there's this energy change in my body. And it's like it doesn't quite know what to do because it's different than before. And so there's kind of a balancing feeling to decide where it's going to flow at. And I would say you had tremendous results for one session. I would not encourage anyone to just take one session because there's the more of those pockets you clear, the more your energy can resume the original flow, the more we can restore our original divine blueprint of what we were conceived with, right? And so but that's wonderful that you did.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if it's because I had that in mind and then you intuitively just picked up on it and it directly did exactly it went exactly where I needed it to.
It happens all that time. Yes. I would say, in fact, so much that the only reason I use the pendulum in the work to show me where to work is just so I know where the stuck energy is for sure. It's going, the pendulum is going by the energy of your thoughts. And so, yes, what you have in mind, what you're wanting or needing emotionally or spiritually to clear for you, eventually it'll find that sometimes there's other things that have to be cleared first before the deeper pocket can clear.
Yeah. And, whenever I saw you, I had this, what is it, Julia? I told you, I said, if I do this, it's going to be on Dad's side.
Yeah.
I was like, I said, I don't know what it is, but there's something there. And I have always had this horrible fear of death. Horrible since I was born. I mean, literally, I remember having like deep anxiety for so long, fearing death. And I don't know if it goes back to, growing up in a Christian environment and fearing hell and all that stuff. But also, as I've spoken about, whenever I was little, I just couldn't make myself believe in God or Christian God, whatever it was. I've told both of y'all the story of being like 4 years old and in the worship service and then saying, lift your hands and pray. And I was standing there going, is anybody like really believing this? Like, am I just something wrong with me that I can't connect this way? And how is it everybody else is a part of the exclusive club and I am something is horribly wrong? And then like that scared me for so long because I just thought there's something really wrong with me and I'm going to go to hell because I can't connect or like I'm not a part of the group. And for so long, I just lived my life full of fear about dying because I didn't know what was going to happen to me or my soul or whatever the case would be. And, I saw you, and that was the first thing that came to me. You said, what do you want to work on? And I was like, I think I have a big fear of death I need to figure out or work on. I just I can't get it out of my mind. Like it inhibits me from living, honestly. It was like, I can't fully live if I'm so afraid of dying.
Mm-hmm.
And then, in the middle of the session, or you got to the ancestor part, and you told me it was my dad's grandpa. And I had told you that, Julia. I had said for years that there was that. And it was always in the back of my mind. And I had told you the story, Carla, about me and Julia going to church, that same church where I had all these feelings in California. And we were in the little nursery. My mom and dad had put me and Julia in the nursery. And all of a sudden, some guy walks up, some older man. He had gray hair. And he said, hey, Brooke, hey, Julia. And I was like, oh, hi, And then he said, where's your dad? And I said, oh, he's in church. And he said, okay, well, you tell him I stopped by. And I said, okay, who are you? And he goes, he said, I'm your dad's dad. And I was like, okay. And I had never seen my dad's dad. He had died, but there was also Pop, his grandpa that raised him. And I had never seen a picture. And then one day we were looking through pictures, and that was the guy who was there. Wow. And I was like, and I had told people, my mom and dad and Julia before, this had happened, and everybody kind of blew it off. But it stuck with me for years and years and years, how I had seen this. And, then you picked up on it, and you had told me that he wanted to know if he did a good job. It was something like that. He wanted to know if he had done a good job, and nobody had ever told him what came after this either.
Yeah.
So what was that exactly, if you can remember?
Well, what he wanted to know, because he was verifying to you that no one had, just like you didn't know what death was, he hadn't known what comes after death either, right? But he was also, his fear had been somewhat similar to yours too. From what I picked up, he had wanted to know that he was okay, that what he believed was okay, that it was right. Whereas your fear, from what you explained, was you didn't want to die and then find out that you should have listened to everyone at church, basically, mm-hmm. Or that, that what you had come to believe wasn't right. You didn't want to get there to death's door and then find out it's too late.
Gotten it all wrong.
Yes. And that had been he was you're acknowledging him was his basic receiving that what he had done was right too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's just interesting because me and Julia both had these stuck things we couldn't get out of. And it ended up being stuff from our ancestral biofield that we just
and what's even more interesting about it is it was opposite sides of the family.
Yeah.
Mine was more having to do with my mom's side of the family, and yours was dad's.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, I've seen in advertisements on Yahoo or Facebook or things, from companies that do the DNA research, right? So you can find your parents or your other relatives. And I've seen those things say how that even twins can have greatly differing, that the DNA would be quite different from each other.
I did get more of my dad's side of things.
Yeah, you look more like dad's side of the family, and I look more like mom's side of the family.
but it doesn't always. Sometimes it seems almost like you might look like one side of the family, but have struggles of the other side. So just like when you're looking at your kids, you can't. Sometimes they look like you, but they have your husband's personality or something.
Right.
Yeah.
But so even though you're relatives, your DNA is different, and you're different people, and so the ancestors' energy affects you, shows up in different ways. I had from both sides of the family, sadness was very predominant. Both my grandmothers had lost parents when they were young and had lost children of their own when they were the mothers. My grandfather's sadness had been the son they had lost, that he had never fully got over. And but gosh, it feels good when that's gone, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And of course, at least for me, just biofield work alone isn't enough. I do a lot of other types of energy clearing. Reading and understanding, learning about how the universe works, and especially for me, the spiritual aspect of the meditation, and talking to the spirit we're all part of. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I probably maybe have a little bit viewpoint on the universal spirit than some people too. This is my way of how I've explained it to myself anyway. I don't know if anyone else that has that same analogy or not, but it's just like us as a person, we're made of little light particles that form cells, and then the cells form tissue, and the tissue form organs, and the organs form systems, and it makes up our bodies. But because the space between all the particles is spirit, we're more than a body, right? We're spirit. And the same way with the universe, everything is made of the spirit. And yet the spirit, it's more than the sum of all its parts. It's more than just the universe. It's more than just nature and this and that and pulling all the parts together, right? It's because there's spirit, and because it's the spirit, this whole universe is spirit, and that's the universal spirit, who is a being just like us, with a personality and a knowledge and wisdom and humor, great humor, and that being wants to have a close interactive relationship with each of us on a daily basis in our everyday.
So how would you go about, like, do you just talk? You just start talking to him? What?
Yeah, well, that's, I say he or him just because, it's too awkward to say he, she, right? That makes no sense at all. I just pick one, it's habitual, I suppose. Actually, it's unisex, of course. There's no sexual, and the angels are the same way. They're unit. They're just one. They're just one being. It's not.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I did want you to expand more on what angels are and what they have shown you.
Oh,
when you get
okay.
You can finish what you were saying, but that interested me earlier, and then I forgot about it.
So in speaking to the Great Spirit, the first thing, there's two really important things that helped me. And it's that knowing that I am an individualized portion of that. So my spirit is that spirit, right? The other thing is to realize it's a being. And so I relate as I would to a being, to someone I love. And someone might say, well, how can I feel love when I don't really know that person? And to me, this love has always shown up as magnetism. It's like all my life I've had this deep yearning desire for that contact, for that individual relationship with that being. Sometimes, like Brooke had said, it was fueled by fear of hell, or fueled by fear of being outcast from others, fear of being wrong at death. I mean, that's very real. And so it's fueled by other sources, but underlying everything beyond the fear was this yearning that I couldn't explain, that I always had to be part of that. And that's what it is. It's like the tuning forks in the biofield, it drags the particles with magnetism, and the light waves are charged particles. So it creates a magnetism. And so, yes, there's two magnetisms, then are really flip sides of the same one. It's the universal spirit drawing us to know him, and it's us drawing it close.
Okay.
Can you've mentioned the oneness a lot. Can you go into what the oneness is? If it's like heaven, it's not hell, so that's good.
Yeah. And then I'll come back to angels.
Sorry, I went totally sorry.
Oh no, it's a good segue into there. I think the oneness is what people would normally, or is what is conveyed in the Bible as being represented by heaven, though I don't think it's like that, what I've heard or what I've read in the Bible. Some of that isn't what I've come to see as this, but rather representations of the spiritual meaning behind it. But the oneness then is, just like I'd said, we're portions, right? Each being is a portion of the universal spirit. So this oneness is where all those individual portions are after they transition from the waiting place into this other realm. And what I found through experimenting in the biofields in the universe is that it actually is in a separate biofield that surrounds, like we have our own personal biofield, we have our ancestral field, and then we're within the biofield of nature, right? That's easy to understand. Beyond the biofield of nature, or I should say surrounding the biofield of nature, is what I call the biofield of energy. It contains those that are in the oneness. It contains the energy deep under the earth. It contains the sky clock, all the pieces of the sky clock together. And so the oneness then, when the ancestors transition, they go from the earth realm or from the biofield of nature into the biofield of energy. And so that's what I see. That's what I experience as the oneness. Their vibration is primarily joy, but curiosity and wonder and love. Those are the gratitude. Those are the big five, right? And whereas the ancestors who are in the grayscale, they still have the energy of the living. They have the worry, they have the fear. Some of them are angry, some of them don't want to be there, or some of them any emotional pattern that they had on life, they probably show up with that. But what I'm seeing, the more I do the work and the more the ancestors in the waiting place become aware through the communication in the universe, that they gain more knowledge of what they can, where they can be instead of in the waiting place, and they learn more about it, then it's more and more when they come, by the time the session is over, they are also full of love and joy and ready to transition. Now, to go to angels, I have found three kinds of angels. One of those, or I should say two kinds of those, are in the energy, the biofield of energy. They're in the oneness, and that is the guardian angels, and then there's what some people might call archangels. I find that really we actually do, each of us have a guardian angel, but their job is not to protect us from physical things that might happen to us or emotional difficulties. Their primary job is to protect our spiritual rights when and if we want them, when we want our rights, when we claim our spiritual rights, that we are part of the universal spirit, that we are have this love, that we are receiving this love, that nothing can stop us from knowing the oneness. Nothing can stop us from being spirit and being part of the great spirit and employing the positive power there in our lives. The archangels have a different role. I believe that from what I've learned, they had more to do with the formation of the earth and of keeping the earth going now, type of thing. The third type of angel that I've found is the earth realm angels. It's the angels that originally were in the oneness with the others, but somehow they lost the knowledge they had and chose not to be there. It was kind of more of believing perhaps that the universe is just the glob of the universe, not the spirit being within the universe, right? And in such, then, when you believe that way, then there's, to me, a fear sets in, because if that's all there is, then there's limits to it, and I have to fight for what I want, and someone might take it from me, like we see in the hierarchy of the world, and well, not even the hierarchy around us, but it's the hierarchical mindset that's at work, the fear of lack, right? Mm-hmm. And so people have to think they have to try to struggle to control so that they have enough, right, of whatever it is they want to need enough of. Whereas when you know it's a being that is endless spirit that created everything within itself, it is still made of everything that it created before, and it will create everything as it's needed. And so it's a mindset of no lack, and it offers that to everyone equally. We all have equal access to the spirit and to what will come to us. And so the spiritual rights are claiming our right as a sentient being, basically, as a a spiritual being, that we have a right to that, and we don't have to fear and struggle with lack.
This might be a stupid question. Do you talk to them?
The angels?
Yes.
I talk to
Julia.
No, that's what a lot of people would want to know. Yeah. I talk to my guardian angel quite frequently. I
want to talk to my guardian angel.
Yeah, you can.
I probably don't. I would be scared.
Oh,
He's like, look, I'd like put me in an institution.
that's someone else, a person might. Yeah, the angel wouldn't. I haven't been put in an institution.
Not yet, Carla.
Yeah, you never know, but I'll just depend on receiving all that happens as eventually being for my good.
Oh.
But so I forget talking to the angels. Yes, I talk and in fact, they're, from what I perceive, the word isn't angel. The word is Gabriel. Gabriel is the ancient root word of Gabriel means messenger. So if their vibration is that of the love and joy and gratitude and curiosity of the universal spirit, then they're safe to talk to. Yeah, and they're around us always. And
how do we ask to talk to them?
Well,
we have to go to your house.
I just say basically, Gabriel, and then I ask my question. Whatever question I had is, how does this work? Or what should I do? Or why is this? Or whatever. I love to learn. I love to learn how the universe works and how the spirit works. So I'm always asking questions.
I do too. Maybe I'll start asking. Maybe eventually somebody will respond to me.
Know that your guardian angel is around each of us. They're there. You can ask to see them. But you have to look, like I did the first time I started working or wanting the permission of those in the oneness to help them. You have to look beyond what your physical eyes can see. You have to hear, you have to listen for something that your ear isn't going to hear. You have to feel into the awareness of the present moment. And I often see the angel as a movement of energy within the sky close to me. They're bigger than we are. And so sometimes I'll see the swirly pattern in the sky.
I have a question.
Not far away, like 20 foot away from me or something like that, close.
So who or what is God to you? Or whatever the word is that you.
Well, just to be generic, I would use the word universal spirit. It's the being who is the sum that is more than the sum of the total of all the parts of the universe, right? That being, to me, that's the universal spirit. That's God. I don't like to use the word God. It's so, it's been maligned. The personality of God has been maligned in different religions throughout history. They show God as hierarchical. The universal spirit, or I say Aloha, that's the name I have given the universal spirit. Aloha is an ancient Hawaiian word for love. Mm-hmm. And so I forgot what question.
I said, who or what is Aloha to you, since it's Aloha?
Oh, That's why I said it's the being that is the sum total of all the parts of the universe. But it is a being. It's just like we do in our bodies. We're the sum total of all our light particles, and we each have a distinct individuated personality, right? And just that's what I find with universal spirit. It's a unique personalities that's the sum total of all the vibration, all the frequency within it.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Switch back to the tuning forks. Like, I've been interested in tuning forks for a long time. But I don't even know where to start. So I kind of gave up. If I was wanting to like start using that just to tune myself, where would I start?
Well, I think a very, very reliable place to start is with biofieldtuning.com.
Okay.
That's where I learned. Eileen has developed a series of various forks that are very effective for different things, and she sells them there on the site. They're all made in the USA. They're very good quality. You can also find instructional videos that come with them. Some of them, a lot of them are made to like the weighted forks. You can use those on your body, or you can use them in the biofield. Others that are non-weighted, unweighted forks are not used on the body.
Mm-hmm.
Eileen has, there's another one offered on the Biofield Tuning site that's called a sonic slider that was specifically made for use on your body. And there's a program that you can get to go with it that shows you how you can run the fork over your body in certain ways. And it really does make you feel more energetic, more alive. Some people feel that it makes, found that it makes them feel younger and look younger too.
Oh, well, that's never a bad thing.
Tune me, Julia.
Well, no, you use a sonic slider to tune yourself.
Oh, okay.
But through whatever energy clearing modality you would use, the more stuck energy that is put back into flow, the younger, healthier, better we're going to feel, for sure.
Let's do that one, Julia.
Well, definitely check out that website.
Yes. Yeah, they have a very good quality, and that's what I use. It's it's very good. Yeah.
How do the tuning forks help people to feel better?
By two different ways. If you use it on your body, like on the weighted forks, some of the weighted forks, just a minute, I have the sonic slider behind me. It's a weighted fork. You can get boots, they're called, to go on the end, or you can use it on your body just plain like that, mm-hmm. or on your face or on your neck, wherever. And I just get busy and forget to take the time to do it. But people who do it regularly feel it's very valuable. Whereas if you use other weighted forks, then I put boots on the bottom of those, and then you can use those on your body. Like if you had a sore muscle or something, you could do two of them. Like these two forks together, when you use these two together, they form the vibration or the frequency of phi, the sacred spiral geometry. And so when you place them on your body, then that creates that spiral flow of energy instead of just the energy of the one. And I use these together in the biofield greatly because all our energy in the biofield flows in spirals. So I use a spiral, but others are very effective too. Mm-hmm. So it's all good. Probably the easiest thing to start with would just be the sonic slider, and you can get them by a boot to put on it, or you can use an extended handle that would be comfortable. Sometimes it's hard to, hold on to and reach every part of your body. So you can get a extended handle for it.
Okay.
But and then they have the video series that you can get to go with it that show how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
So, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, like, what all benefits do people get from the tuning forks and biofield work?
Well, everything from, I would say they're going to help you a lot more than going to the doctor would. In general, I don't mean if you have an acute illness that you shouldn't get medical care. I don't mean that if you're on medication, you should stop your medications as soon as you start using a tuning fork. What I mean is that because the spiritual underlies the emotional and the emotions become stuck in the biofield, inflammation starts, and that causes your physical ailment of various kinds, whether internal or physical ailment. Then by removing those stuck pockets of energy and allowing energy to resume flow again, then you're going to feel better in all ways. You're going to feel better spiritually, knowing that you're doing good for yourself, knowing you're taking care of yourself, knowing that you're creating your life as more than it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're taking that power of taking care of yourself. You're going to feel better emotionally. You're going to get rid of some of the negative, non-helpful emotional patterns of how we have lived. And it's going to show up in feeling better physically too, as the pockets clear in the biofield and the inflammation decreases, then you'll physically feel better.
What were you going to ask earlier, Julie?
Oh, I was going to ask about your book that you're writing.
Oh, yes, I'm working on writing a book that talks about many of the experiences I've had in the biofield, but it's more than that. It parallels my own personal growth and spiritual journey with the journey of the ancestors in discovering and choosing and transitioning.
When do you think you'll be done with that?
Well, probably longer than I think. But I'm about, I don't know, I'm about 3/4 done maybe. And then comes all the editing and everything like that. So hopefully, realistically, maybe 6 months.
Oh, that's not too bad.
So we'll see. We'll see. But it's a spiritual journey, and my work, my life, my being is spirit, and so I'm writing as spirit, and I'm writing as I'm led by spirit, and so some of the things that need to go in the book, I'm still learning, I think, is why it's taking longer.
Oh, that's cool.
So
what does spirit mean to you exactly?
Well, I say spirit just as there's two different things basically I see as, or maybe more than that, in the word spirit, and sometimes when I say spirit, I'm meaning universal spirit. I'm meaning that being that's greater than the sum of all the parts. I'm meaning the universe as a whole, as a being, as a whole, working together. When I say just I'm spirit being, then I'm meaning I'm a portion of the great spirit I am made of the space between the particles and all the particles. I'm not just physical.
So you're a portion of God.
Yes, we're individuated portions of God. Yeah.
Hmm.
Another meaning of spirit would just be the light waves coming in, because again, they're full of the particles and the space between the particles, the communication by intuition, by wisdom and knowledge.
Does everyone have intuition?
Absolutely. Yeah, our spirit is intuition. Yeah. We forget because we're not taught it anymore. We're not trained it. We're not raised by people who know it, and they weren't raised by people who know it, right? If you're lucky and are in a family where that's been more intuitive, or have people that with special spiritual gifts or things, that's a treasure, although it's probably been misunderstood at times by other people around you and has made life more difficult at times.
Yeah, I know. Me and Julie, we could both probably say that we weren't guided with intuition
Well, and that's
for
another
many
thing
years.
I was going to ask, like, if you're someone who, has a hard time trusting your intuition, how can you get better at that?
For the most part, it takes determining that I know I'm spirit, and I'm going to trust how the spirit works no matter what. And so
I would like that.
Anything that I receive intuitive wise, unless I feel it as that it does not have the joy and love type of vibration behind it, and if it then it's trustable, and you go with it. And so it's just a determination. I'm going to trust it, and that's it. But yes, sometimes I doubt, but it always turns out right.
How can you tell the difference between intuition and false beliefs or anxiety?
Intuition comes more as a knowing. It comes as a positive knowing about something or doing something. The anxiety and stuff comes as anxiety. It's as a fearful, the energy behind it's different. The more you get used to taking time, being in the present moment, that's another one, right? Because intuition, you'll experience your intuition when you're in the present moment. When you're worried, if you're really worried about a lot of stuff, it might just be anxiety speaking to you. But if you can pull yourself out of the underlying chronic low-grade fight or flight by breath work or energy work, chakra clearing, whatever you use, there's many things that work to to bring you out of fight or flight and into present mode again. Then you can tune in with intuition again.
So you're saying intuition has a feeling to it. It has like a goodness.
Everything has a vibration to it. We just haven't, when we live in as a physical body with our mind thinking we're physical body, we don't pay attention to a lot of the vibration or frequencies that everything is made of. But like, you can go into most people can go and walking down the street, and if you pass someone, someone might catch your eye and you think, wow, they're happy, right? You can just tell they're happy, whether they're smiling or not. It's like their countenance. they're happy. If you pass someone that's really angry or something, well, you know that too. Or if you go into a crowded store, I know 2 years ago, I think when the lockdowns were just starting in, I walked into the local Walmart and it was like, man, I couldn't wait to leave. When I left, I was seething with anger. It was like I had picked up all the anger of everybody else there in having to do what they're saying we have to do, or sometimes anger is related to fear too. And so anyway, for whatever reason, I was overwhelmed with anger. But there is a frequency behind everything. There's a frequency behind love. There's like, just like each tuning fork, this has its own frequency, right? Like this one is the 89 hertz. My body as a whole has a frequency, a sum total frequency of my body. Each organ in our bodies have its own frequency. And so love is a frequency. Light is a frequency. So there's when you're tuning in to the present moment and seeing beyond what your eyes see and hearing beyond what your ears hear, then you are more perceptive to the vibrations, and you can feel good or bad. You can also ask your spirit if you can get yourself out of the fight or flight by breath work, several long, deep breaths, having your exhale take longer than your inhale and exhaling through your nose. And then you can ask yourself, you can ask your spirit, picture whatever it was you felt, and then picture that in your mind and see how feel in your body, how your body's reacting to that. Is it contracting? Is it grimacing? Is it slowing down? Is it different? Is it that way? Or is it when you look at the another choice you might have of whatever it is, and you might feel into notice how your body is reacting and see, maybe it would feel happy. Maybe it would start out a little slower, and then the longer you think of it, the bigger your grin gets. So that's a way to find out if it's good or bad too. With angels, it's pretty easy to tell which is the earth realm angel, which are run by have a hierarchical mindset, or the angels in the oneness who are love and light, because the ones in the earth realm are like the physical ancestors in the earth realm. They come with a cool breeze. It's like it's almost chilly when you come in. You can feel something. You can sense the underlying questioning, or what I noticed between the earth realm angel and the angel in the oneness, like the guardian angel. The earth one, they tend to speak with authority and almost demand what they want, type of thing, or what they're doing. The ones from the oneness, it's laying it out there, and you can take it if you want. Right?
That's interesting. And I kind of what you were saying about feeling and your intuition. I told my husband before, like, that's how I kind of just live my life, is in feelings. And I've never known how to explain it any way other than that. But it's not like my reactionary feelings. It's like a feeling, and I guess it's intuition, but and I'm getting a lot better recently about deciphering the difference between my intuition and anxiety, like my sister mentioned, because I have had a lot of anxiety in my life, and they can kind of it gets confusing sometimes.
Right. You have to get out of the fight or flight first before you can.
Yeah, but that makes a lot of sense to me what you're saying, because I do. That's how I feel a lot of things. Like, and it kind of directs me which way I'm going to go, but I've never known what that is before.
Yeah.
But I'm probably going to have to go soon. Is there anything else you guys wanted to, like a last point or
Yeah, I guess, is there anything you want to leave the viewers with? Last things you want to say or get across?
I guess I would tell people that asking questions is good, and that God or the universal spirit feels your questions. I mean, your question comes across as like when the ancestors speak, I don't hear their words. I feel their words. I know what they say. Their thought is coming across as a vibration that my body interprets into words that I understand. And that's how our thoughts are conveyed in the light waves also. And the universal spirit or God hears those. The angels hear those, and they'll answer our questions. Not always right on the spot. Things in nature can answer your questions too. They have spirit. Our spirit. Trees are a wonderful source of wisdom. So to connect with intuition too, it would really help, beside practicing being in the present moment, and go barefoot or in leather-soled shoes as much as you can, because that way you're connected still to the earth and to the natural vibration. Rubber-soled shoes will cut you off from that and makes it much more difficult.
Where can people find you if they want to look you up? Like websites and
my website, my website is ancestralriver.com, and you can contact me from there. I'll spell it out if I can spell it off my head.
We'll link it too.
Okay, there you go. Get the link, and you can email me from there. There's a contact thing. There's a little more information about how the biofield works and how clearing works. If you're more interested in that, there's some of that you can look into. There's more information about the different types of sessions that I offer and what you can clear for if you're interested. And I'd be glad to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on.
Yes, thank you. I love this one.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Thank you, ladies. I appreciate being with you again.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on and talking about all this, and, opening people up to a different perspective and way of thinking, and helping people to learn to trust their intuitions again. I think that's really nice.
Well, good. Yeah, it's very, very important. And 3 years ago, I would never have dreamed I would be doing that, right? And I'm happier than I've ever been in my life.
Yeah, and that's super important.
Yeah, it's real.
Okay, well, I guess I'll talk to you guys later, and I
need to make another appointment.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
Now that it takes me a while. I'm kind of one of those, like, I do one thing and then I have so much to figure out afterwards. And it takes me a while to come back around. Okay, let's do it again.
Right. Yeah. Just I'd say to you, Julia, too, you can email me, or you can just go to the website too and look through, because I do different types of sessions that are available that might spur a different interest or a different question in you to think about and that you might not have been thinking about before. So
yeah, for sure.
So very good.
Okay, Carla. Well, thank you for joining us.
All right. Thanks for having me. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Yes, thank you for watching, everybody, and tune in next time. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
All right. Got it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye, Carla.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
We'll see you next time.
All right. Very good.